Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's video. We're going to share how to do keyword research in Google Search Console, right? And the reason why I'm sharing is that there's a lot of people that don't know this, but Google Search Console is one of the best places to do some really good keyword research. And I'll explain you why in a minute, right? But just to let you know who this video is for and who this video is not for, right? Um, if you have more than 10 articles and more than 100 impressions in Google Search Console, this video is for you. And we will derive a lot of keyword research insights from Google Search Console. If let's say you're a blog, a relatively new blog with less than 10 articles and less than 100 impressions, bookmark this video for later. You will pass that threshold, and once you do that, you'll be able to derive insights, because less than 100 impressions, you wouldn't be seeing many keywords out there. All right. um, Now let's get to the next bit. Before I share, some interesting tips and tricks, one thing to remember on why you should use Google Search Console for keyword research, right? So whenever you create, an article, targeting a topic, right? Google obviously tries to rank you for that topic, but it also tries to rank you for topically relevant topics, and what we like to say is semantically related topics, right? So if, let's say, for example, you've created a article about, I don't know, best chatbot software, right? You might start your ranking for, I don't know, drift alternatives, which is a chatbot tool. You might start, ranking for, what is a chatbot. You might start ranking for live support examples, right? Because these are all kind of nodes, or like, related topics to the best chatbot software, right? And here's the interesting thing, right? That whenever you create a piece of content, and you rank for all of these keywords that show up in the impressions, right? There will likely be, some keywords where the content that you've created, the page you've created solves, answers that exact query, right? And sometimes you might have certain keywords where your existing page can't answer that, right? For example, for best live chat software, you cannot, in any way write something about, drift alternatives or Zendesk alternatives, right? You need a separate article for that, right? And that's why, and that's where, you kind of derive insights from Google Search Console. You start seeing which are the topics that are kind of related, that Google thinks that are kind of related, that you should create content for, right? Now the second thing is that when you create, articles for keywords that Google is already showing you for, right? um, it's a lot easier to start ranking for those keywords versus picking up brand new keywords, right? So, because Google knows, Google is trying, starting to think that a little bit about this topic, right? And so if you create more items, more articles around that topic, you will, you know get indexed faster, start ranking faster. So it's not uncommon to see that, when you pick up one of the topically or semantically related keywords and create an article for that, within like a couple of weeks, you're, in page 1 to 3, versus, new article that can take, up to 3-4 months to get to that page 1 to 3, right? So that's just something to remember on, like, why keyword like Google Search Console is just absolutely great for keyword research. It helps you prioritize which keywords to, kind of go for, which keywords Google is most likely to kind of rank you for, and then also kind of you can take the best call on, like, what makes better business sense. All right. So, all right. So I'm just gonna kind of dive in to my Google Search Console dashboard, and I'm just gonna kind of show you some tips and tricks that I use. I've got some notes in here, just to kind of help me make this video a little bit more helpful for you. So I'll just go around it, right? So, for reference, right? For anybody that doesn't know how to operate Google Search Console, right? You can obviously set up Google Search Console if you haven't already. Like, that is, for sure, like a mandatory thing, right? And then, you usually kind of hit a screen like this, right? Like the overview. And then, you basically go into the full report, right? And then it kind of shows you, the last 3 months. Now there's, 2 3 ways you can, create some filters, right? You can, so you've got, you can choose the time period, you can compare, 2 time periods. You can decide what kind of search type. Sometimes you've got blogs that are ranking on Google Images, sometimes there's a video that's ranking. And then you can also kind of filter by, specific query, page, specific geographies, what device, and how, it's appearing on search, right? That's I think that's one thing to remember. And then the other thing is that, there are very few people that know about it. So, Google, by default shows you the clicks and impressions, for queries, right? But you can also see the average position. It's not very accurate, just FYI, but it's kind of like a leading indicator that, you're kind of, you know um, doing fairly well on these keywords, right? And then it also shows you the CTR, which is a very, very interesting metric, because it shows you which are kind of like the keywords that are getting, you know a lot of impressions, or getting a lot of clicks, basically, right? So the ones that are getting a lot more clicks are, probably, you're probably creating a great piece of content for them, right? So anyway, this is just a quick overview here. So you can filter by, query and pages, like I suggested here, but you can also filter in here, right? So you can filter by top queries, clicks, impressions, and I'm just going to dive deep into that. And then within here you can see, your top queries, the top 10,000 queries, basically, which is more than enough. Your top 10,000 pages, right? Your top countries, devices, search appearance, and then even date, like how the traffic is doing. All right, so let's just go one by one, right? So the first thing, probably the most important one that I look at is, let's go one by one, right? So the first thing that I do is I look for keywords that, that tend to have like a commercial value for me, and I try to find opportunities, right? So for example, if I want to find commercial brand keyword opportunities, I would just click here, new query, right? And then you can choose, right, between queries containing, not containing, exact query. That's just a lot. I use queries containing, right? And I'm just going to look at all of the queries that have software in it, right? And I click on that, right? And then what it shows me are all of these queries. And now, interestingly, what I know is that, for example, I don't have, an article on investor update software, right? And that's an interesting thing. So then what I do is I basically just take this keyword and I put it into my keyword research tool, which is SEMrush, and I just basically, put the keyword in there, see how big the market opportunity is, right? Right now I see 10 impressions, right? But really, how many people actually search for this keyword is critical, right? So that, and then I can look at it and I see that, oh, I also rank for polo sales software, so perhaps I should create something there, right? Now there are a lot of keywords that you can try within the queries, right? So you can search for, versus keywords, right? So perhaps, I see that I'm ranking for Endel versus Brain FM, which are like these productivity tools. I don't have an article for them, right? And perhaps that should be something that I should do. Or another thing that I like to do is, I try to look at the keywords that have the most amount of impressions but zero clicks, right? So here's how you do that, right? First, I click on this. It shows me most of the impressions. Well, it already shows that, this is a keyword that I get a lot of impressions for, get a lot of clicks. I have an article for this, so I don't have to worry about this. But for example, Market Muse versus Surfer SEO, which are two very famous tools, I'm getting 322 impressions. That's a lot. Google's saying you're you're legit. We trust you to create something for this, and if you create a, piece of article for this, it will rank, like I can guarantee you, right? Of course it needs to pass a certain level, right? But it shows you comparison, tool comparison queries, right? So, um like, just like that, you can kind of go crazy here, right? Like, so, I like software, I like versus, I also like review, right? Sometimes I'm looking for a software review, right? So that's one way to find commercial brand keyword opportunities, right? Where you can perhaps use affiliate links or drive traffic to your own site, versus competitors' sites, right? Um, Now, the second thing that I do within Search Console, when I'm kind of looking for more top of the funnel content, awareness content, right? Where people are asking questions, right? So what I try to look for is, I just put like questions, like how, what, why, where, and when, right? So let's kind of try this here, right? So how, um, now, what's interesting is you have all of these different keywords, right? And for some, I already have. Like, for example, most of the articles, the keywords mentioned here, I already have like I already have an article. But here's where things get interesting, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look at clicks. Okay. Clicks should be smaller than one. All right. And so that basically eliminates any terms that actually get any clicks, right? Impressions should be greater than 100, so it shows me like the really low hanging opportunities. Okay. And top queries, contain, I can choose whatever, right? And it shows me these keywords, right? So for example, how to write a content brief, I'm getting 1,000 impressions. Perhaps I should create an article on this, right? So there's another way to find articles, right? So and this is, very few people actually know about this, that you have a lot of these sorting and filtering options in here, right? What you can also try is, let me just go one by one on this, is, other questions, right? So let's look at what, right? And you might start, seeing, what is SaaS writing, what percentage of revenue should be spent on marketing, right? That is what is clear scope, right? And you just have to do your keyword research, and if it works, you find your awareness opportunities, right? Now, another interesting thing that you can try in the queries is use a keyword like template that shows you more bottom of the funnel opportunities that are kind of just before the, they're kind of like at the solution aware stage, and you want to try to get them to the product aware, which is kind of like the lowest, bottom of the funnel that you can get them to, right? So let me search for templates, right? And templates are like really really powerful keywords that, um that you can convert into customers, right? So I've got all of these template opportunities, lots of them, with 7,000 impressions. Then I can do all sorts of things in here, right? So, for example, one thing I can look at, I'm just going to try this at random, right? Um, let me, mm, I mean, well, one thing that I can do is that I can show all of the keywords that are ranking for my articles that actually do not have a template in the URL, right? So um mention this in here. Let's see if that works. It does, right? So for example, now now this shows me, all of my articles that are kind of ranking, which do not have the template. Sorry, these are all the keywords that are ranking for pages that do not have template in them, right? And that's not a good thing. So this is another way to kind of find opportunities and also kind of to kind of fix things, right? um so anyway, like, you can use the queries to, kind of figure things out, right? Um and do that, right? Another thing that you can do is, you can sort, like I said, you can experiment with the CTR, right? So for example, I'm gonna put the CTR in here, right? I'm gonna look at the highest CTR posts with the lowest of impressions. Right? Just trying things out, right? Smaller than 100. Let's make that 20. Yeah. Now you have, all sorts of these, keywords that, you know, that are getting a lot of impressions, right? And perhaps might have, a high click-through rate, and you can do that. I don't have any of those, but this is another way you can find it, because anything that gets a high click-through rate essentially means that you've created a nice piece of content. So perhaps you can create similar ones, taking that particular piece as an example. Um, and then what you can also, another interesting thing that you can try is, if mobile is your strong point, right? You can basically, find the keywords that, let's say are rank, are, work pretty well on mobile, right? So, for example, I have all of these keywords that are kind of showing up on mobile, right? And perhaps, one of these could be a good opportunity for like a mobile app experience, right? This is particularly great. Let's say you're launching a mobile app, right? And if you're seeing all of these keywords, maybe you can push your mobile app in here, right? Like, and this, helps you with more optimization, or find opportunities that, where you can create that, right? Another interesting tactic that I like to try is using geographic filters, right? So I'll tell you where it helps, right? Let's look at all of the keywords that I'm ranking for in the United Kingdom. I'm just going to take that for an example, right? Now, what it helps you with is, let's say, for example, you have a product where you have a very high conversion percentage for certain geographical countries. For a lot of SaaS products, it's usually, like the top five US, top five English speaking markets: US, Canada, Australia, UK, Germany, and all sorts, right? And sometimes it's, for companies with like a lower cost, the biggest markets might be, like India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, and sometimes it might be Asian markets, right? And this is a great way to identify which are kind of like the keywords that, are coming from a specific country, right? And then perhaps you can, tailor your content towards more country specific keywords, right? So actually, let me try Germany, for example, right? Perhaps there are some keywords there that I can find that might work for Germany. um let's look here, right? I'm just gonna go all the way to the back so I can find something. Right. I mean, one way to do that, I don't have a lot, right? But I mean, it shows me, for example, I don't know, write a GitHub or something or the other, right? But just something to kind of think about, right? Like this might be a good tactic to, identify um, some geographical keyword opportunities, right? Um, and then I think overall, right, like you can also kind of experiment with, more, like just identifying which are kind of like the keywords that fit your sales funnel, right? So for example, um let me kind of look at my, top performing blog posts, right? And I'm just gonna, let's say, look at this one, and I'm gonna look at the top queries for this one. Okay. And what I'm going to look at is, kind of what I'll try to understand is, how do I complete the sales funnel, right? So if someone is coming here for learning SaaS marketing, right? How can I, what's the next step for them? How to get a SaaS marketing job, right? And then, after how to get a SaaS marketing job, it's about how to advance in your career. And, from there, you kind of, how to, get ahead of marketing position, right? And this just allows those kind of keyword opportunity exploration, right? Like, because you're, let's say you're already ranking for it, right? And what I like, the way I like to kind of consider, like the entire sales funnel is, so if you're not aware, it's kind of like top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel, right? But you can rephrase that in your content way as, problem unaware, problem aware, solution aware, product aware, right? So in the problem unaware stage, you're kind of, they don't even know that they have a problem, right? So let's say somebody's tracking their time on spreadsheets, right, and that's what they've been doing, and they don't see any issue with it, right? And then you tell them that, oh, using spreadsheets, your time tracking is very, like, um, based on what you think. It's not based on the data, or what the clock is tracking, right? And then you say that the problem where is really when that you need to figure out a way on how to track your time correctly, using certain apps, and then you make them aware about solutions. There are time tracking softwares, there's time tracking Chrome extensions, there's stopwatch method, there's all sorts of things, right? And then within there, once they're kind of aware that these are like the automatic time tracking solutions available in the market, you get them to the product aware stage, where it's like, well, there are lots of these time tracking software, and here is like the unique pros and cons and features and pricing for each of these, and why which one is best for whom, right? Like sometimes a time tracking software might be good for remote teams, one time tracking software might be great for agencies, one time tracking software might be good for freelancers, right? Like, and that's how you kind of find some keyword opportunities, right? So I mean, like, these are just some of the tips and tricks, right? That you can use Google Search Console for. You can and just play around with it. It's a pretty big one, right? So for example, another thing that I've not shown you, like, this is a rabbit hole to get into, but um, another thing that you can try is, let's say for example, you want to look at all of the keywords where your video is being shown, right? And that's an interesting one, right? Like, because all of these pieces of content are where my video is being shown, right? So perhaps I should create a YouTube video for these. Perhaps I should create more videos around these topics, right? So if, for example, if I have a video about clear scope alternatives, perhaps I should create it for the alternatives, like Surfer SEO alternatives, whatever, right? So there's just a lot that you can do with Google Search Console. But my point is that this is probably your lowest hanging fruit in terms of keyword research, and you should ideally pair it with a good keyword research tool. All right. So I recommend SEMrush, right? And if you like this video, you can sign up for SEMrush using my link below, right? Of course, at no cost to you, I will get an affiliate commission, so I can create more of these videos for you. But you can also choose to just use your own link as well. It's totally fine. But SEMrush is a great keyword research tool, has a very wide database, one of the market leaders, and you can try that. I hope this video was helpful in helping you to do keyword research using Google Search Console. Um, and if you have any questions, please drop them in the comments. Wish you a wonderful day.